Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Tiffany and we're having some coffee in a Christmas cup. And I wanted to come on here and just make a short little video about concussions and post-concussion syndrome. I don't really see a whole lot of videos about concussions or post-concussion syndrome or people that are dealing with that, like made specifically by the people who are affected. A lot of the videos are either doctors or just professionals telling you their opinion on how post-concussion syndrome works, what a concussion is, and all that is helpful. But for someone who is suffering from post-concussion syndrome and has never experienced a concussion before, the symptoms that you feel can be very overwhelming, and they can be very scary at times and very hard to put into words. And I know this firsthand because I currently am still recovering from my concussion. So I'm in the post-concussion syndrome, time period. So I know what it feels like. I know what it has felt like. I know what it feels like currently. And currently right now I am like 9 or 10 months out. So I'll give you a little brief rundown of how I sustained my concussion, first of all, and then what it feels like. What do you do? There's just a lot of unknowns, and depending on how severe your concussion is and the symptoms that you start to feel, it all can be very overwhelming. Let's get into first how I got my concussion. So my concussion was back. My injury happened on December 1st of 2020, so last year, and I had already been out of work for like a couple days because I was sick, and I was in the process of being tested to see if I had COVID. So I had been very sick and just like in bed, and I hadn't really been moving around much, and I went to go and take a shower, and while I was in the shower, and it happened very quickly, but I guess I started not being able to breathe, and I noticed it happening right away, and I started seeing black sort of coming in from the sides, and I said, uh-oh, like this isn't good. I should probably do something about this. And the next thing you know, I'm on the floor in the shower, and luckily I didn't, I probably like, I passed out, so I don't really remember, but I must have like hit my back against the wall, sort of slid down, got myself up, and then I got myself out. But I don't remember exactly what happened after that. The next thing I know is that I am waking up and I'm on the floor in the bathroom. I had obviously passed out again, and then my head actually went through the wall. So there's like a tub that's off to the side, and my head went through the wall, breaking through 4 tiles and breaking the sheetrock behind it. So I wake up on the floor and I'm home by myself. Very scary when you wake up on the floor on all fours, and there's blood everywhere because I split my head open. I am not clothed, and I just have no idea what's going on. Hopefully that dog doesn't keep barking. So it was definitely very scary, and I managed to get help, got to the hospital, they checked me out, everything was fine. They wanted to make sure, like I didn't pass out from whatever. We're getting a little away from the topic here, but so at the hospital, no one mentioned concussion at all, and I was very nervous, and I was like, oh, I hit my head, like, is it okay for me to go to sleep tonight? Am I gonna be okay? And I was very sick because, as it turns out, I did end up having COVID. So I was very sick, and I just wasn't feeling very well, and my mind was just all over the place. I was so at one point I was so numb that they put the staples in my head and they didn't even numb it. They just stapled it right in there. I was in bed, and I didn't actually even realize that I had a concussion until about
2 weeks later.
because I had been laying down a lot, you know. And if you take a look at the symptoms from COVID and take a look at the symptoms from concussion, they overlap a lot. So I had no clue. I just thought I was sick, and my employer at the time said, you know what, you're all good from COVID, but because you got a head injury, we really need you to be checked out by a doctor, because I have like a physical job. I'm up moving around all the time, and we need you to be checked out by a doctor before you know, you can return to work. And luckily they did say that, because I still wasn't feeling 100%. I was like, you know what, I don't feel like I'm sick anymore, like with this cold or with this flu or with COVID, but something is not right. I was extremely dizzy. I was having headaches that were lasting all day long. You know, I couldn't stand for more than like a couple minutes at a time, and it was the most bizarre feeling that I had ever experienced in my life. And I was just like, what is this? So obviously it was, you know, things were going on. They wouldn't see me in person. I really wanted to get checked out in person, but everything was virtual. So I talked to my doctor, and they're like, you know what, it sounds like you might be experiencing some post-concussion syndrome. And I was like, I've never heard of that. So they wanted me to follow up with a neurologist, and scheduled a visit with a neurologist. And, you know, I was super naive in the beginning, and I was like, you know what, maybe I'll be out of work for a few days, maybe a week at the most. I go to my neurology appointment, and I was having a difficult time walking. It almost felt like the floor under my feet was moving, as if you were on like one of those moving sidewalks, like in the airport. That's the best way that I was able to describe it to people, is what it felt like floating, you know. The sounds I was having, you know, like people talking, pitches of people's voices were just piercing my ears. The sound of like dishes being put away into the cabinet, silverware, like the littlest things were just magnified to the umpteenth degree. You know, the lights in the house, I had to keep the lights dim when I was trying to eat. It was just very, very bizarre. And if you don't ever you've never experienced anything like that, it's just very strange. So I go to the neurology appointment, and they were like, oh, okay, da 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 da. And she's like, you know, I'm not going to give you any medication just yet. I want to see how you progress. I'm like, okay, well, how long should I stay out of work? And she said a month. And I was like, a month? No way. Yeah. And she was like, no problem. If you get better before then, we'll reevaluate it, and I'll send you back to work. And that was back in December. That was December 16th, my very first appointment. And today, I think, is August the 16th or 17th, somewhere around there. So yeah, that's a whole 9 months ago. And I still have not returned to work. I have not fully driven my car. I've taken it around the block a few times just so that it doesn't die on me again. But never in my wildest dreams would have I ever imagined that this is where I would be. And the longevity of symptoms and the recovery process has been nothing short of an adventure. You know, it's been a journey for sure. Very frustrating at times, extremely isolating and sad. And you know, you go through all these emotions, and when you're suffering a concussion, you know, there are different degrees in which different areas of your brain are affected. You know, there's physically. So are you feeling dizzy? Are you feeling vertigo? Are you feeling, you know, ringing in your ears? Those kinds of things. And there's emotionally, when your brain gets jostled and altered that way, you have a tendency to be more emotional, whether it's either crying or laughing. And I had both of those. There were periods of time when I was crying 4 or 5 times in a day, and I don't cry like that, you know. And then there would be moments when I was super depressed. There were times when I was laughing uncontrollably, and I was like, this has got to be the concussion, because I don't know why I'm laughing at soup right now, you know. So just a whole bunch of different things that were going on, and very difficult to explain it to other people, and it's really frustrating because, you know, on the outside you look like you're okay, but on the inside you are just like buzzing. You know, your head just feels like it's like this constantly all the time, and it's just, you know, you can't really pinpoint it, you can't get it to stop, and you know, it's like a bad hangover that just will not go away. And you know, it's hard. It really is hard. So like I said, I'm 9 months out from it. I'm going to physical therapy now. I eventually was put on medication to help me with the headaches, the really bad headaches that I was having. I still do get the headaches, not as frequently, but I was having a hard time sleeping. Insomnia was terrible. You know, like I said, my emotions were all over the place. Things were just not regulated, and I really needed to do some things to really get myself on track. But you know, like my neurologist said, you really need to get to that baseline first, where you can actually, you know, get up out of bed, where you can tolerate someone talking to you, where you can tolerate a little bit more excess movement, and do them in increments. Allow yourself to heal, allow yourself to recover. It's really a difficult thing to understand because there's no timeline. There's no secret formula. Everyone's brain is different, and everyone's recovery is going to be different. Everyone's injury is going to be different. You know, they call it a mild traumatic brain injury. It certainly didn't feel mild, obviously, on the scale of, like, you know, being in a coma or being like in intensive care and all that kind of stuff. I was very thankful that my step wasn't a half a step back, or I definitely could have, you know, smacked the back of my neck. So I am very thankful, but in no way did it feel mild at all. And you know, it is patience. You really need to have patience when you're dealing with post-concussion syndrome and recovering from concussions. And you know, it's hard. I always like to say, you know, if you have a broken leg, the doctor tells you 4 to 6 weeks, take this cast off, boom, you're good to go. There's no timeline. No one can say, you know, by XYZ date you're going to be better. So it is a waiting game. It is a lot of waiting around. It's waiting to feel better, waiting to sort of hear from doctors. You know, are you going to lose your job? Is insurance going to cover you? All those sorts of things. So, and when you're dealing with something with your brain and things are already sort of overwhelming and very difficult, it all sort of starts to just like pile up on top of each other, and it makes it that much harder. So, but hopefully this was helpful. I just wanted to sort of get my story out there. I'll do some other videos as well, going a little bit more into detail about like my symptoms, steps to recovery, what I sort of did for myself, and different things that I tried to do to, you know, help myself mentally, physically, and emotionally on this journey to recovery. So if you have any questions or you have anything specific you would like to know about dealing with post-concussion syndrome, please just leave a comment below. All right, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.